Pow, where we love everything comic, cartoon, and collectible. I'm Sonia.
And I'm Al.
And we are coming to you from our fabulous home here in Sydney at King's Comics. We have a very special show tonight.
Yes, we have a very special show tonight, Sonia. I'm very excited. We are looking at the Caped Crusader, the Dark Knight, the world's greatest detective.
Come on, get on
I'm
with
just
it.
so excited. It's a Batman show. We're doing a Batman show.
We are doing a Batman show. Al and I are going to take a look at some of our personal favourite Batman stories. Ray's coming in later to have a look at some statues and figures for us.
Yes, and I am going to be having a chat with one of Australia's biggest Batman fans.
That is a very large call.
I know it is, but I'm talking about Good Game's Stephen Barjo O'Donnell.
Amazing. And then later in this episode, we will be announcing a brand new competition. Oh yes, so keep
yes.
watching for that. Wait.
Wait, where are you going?
It's a big show. Come on, big show, big show.
Okay, so there are two different kinds of Batman story.
Are you two different kinds of Batman?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, if you look at the entire Batman canon,
Okay, I know it's a huge oversimplification.
Yeah.
I'm doing a thing here, okay? So just, okay?
Fine.
There are two different kinds of Batman story. The first kind looks at the whole overall mythos of Batman. It makes you ask the big questions. It's high art. It makes you think, who is Batman? What is Batman? And then you've got the other kind, the second kind, which is just a damn good adventure. Hush, written by Jeff Loeb, with art by Jim Lee and Scott Williams, is one of the second kind, and it is one of my all-time personal favourites.
Well, massive oversimplification aside, Hush certainly is a fantastic adventure story. I mean, you've got a mysterious, implacable enemy, you've got kidnapping, foiled plans, car chases, explosions, and more fisticuffs than you can shake a batarang at.
All that and more.
Yeah.
I think there's really an element of wish fulfillment to this story, and that's why we love it so much, because
do.
Batman's doing so much in Hush that you've just always wanted to do yourself.
Yeah, like sword fight with Ra's al Ghul, or, which I will do one day, parachute out of a plane and land on the back of a speedboat.
Yeah, I'll watch for that. But also there's stuff like kissing Catwoman, punching Superman square in the face.
That was pretty awesome.
Ah, that was so cool.
So awesome.
But look, should we talk more specifically about the story and what happens?
I'm not really sure where to start with that. I mean, Loeb has consistently given us so much plot and brilliant plot. I mean, ever since Haunted Night through to Long Halloween and Dark Victory, all the way into Hush, which was published in 2004. And he packs so much into each of his stories that you really do feel you are getting plenty of bat for your buck.
Yeah, so it's very true. Suffice to say though, there is somebody after Batman.
There's always someone after Batman.
True, but this someone has spent years planning the perfect revenge on the Dark Knight and is willing to throw as many Bat villains as possible under the wheels of the Batmobile to get him into his endgame.
Yes.
I think telling you more than that would probably ruin it.
No,
So,
absolutely. But I would like to mention the artwork in
Oh,
this.
yeah.
It is absolutely magnificent. Every character that comes up in Hush, and there are a lot of them,
are.
but each one of them is realised in a way that, well, to me, it feels like that's exactly how they should look.
yeah, and there's some in here that have gone through a lot of different incarnations. I mean, Killer Croc is a perfect example.
Terrifying in this book.
Really scary.
Really scary.
But there's also, who else we got? We got Catwoman, we got Poison Ivy, we got the Riddler, Scarecrow, Superman, and Crypto the Super Dog.
Yes.
We've got Lady Shiva. Who else shows up?
There's Huntress and there's Oracle, you got Clayface,
Yep.
Robin and Nightwing, and of course it's a Batman story, so the Joker and Harley Quinn also shows up.
Yeah.
It's a Gotham smorgasbord, really.
And a tasty one at
Yes.
that. Look, I can't recommend this story enough. I love it. I think it's just so much fun to read.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. It's fun. And to reread. Look, honestly, if you're watching the show at home, I want you to wait until we're finished. Then go out and buy this book. But if you're watching it on your phone, something like that, you better be on your way to a comic book store to get this book, because it's just, I love it.
I know
love
you
it
do.
so much.
It should be on every shelf.
Absolutely. Get it now. Okay, big exciting guest for us this evening. We're going to be having Good Games Stephen Barjo O'Donnell with us.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm not
What
that
a-
exciting.
What are you doing here?
Well, you always get to do the interviews, and I'm a bit of a fan, so I wanted to be here as well.
Okay, well look, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Do you want to take the first question then?
No, that's fine.
Okay, well look, you're a big Batman fan, as we've said. how did your love of Batman begin?
Probably the iconic 90s television series. You know, they're so popular, but when I was a kid, it was the first cartoon that was... It didn't patronize you, you know? It felt like an adult kind of cartoon. I felt cool watching it, and there were such interesting dark stories and such dark themes, and that just gripped me. It was just so interesting. And Kevin Conroy was amazing in it, of course, the voice of Batman. And I actually had the privilege of meeting him once, and we talked about this particular episode called The Grey Ghost, which Adam West was in as well.
I remember that one.
That's right.
You know, it was just such an incredible... And I think that's my favourite episode out of the whole series. And of course, Harley Quinn came from that series as well.
She did.
That's true.
And what a great character she is.
Yeah, I loved Heart of Ice in that one, the Freeze one. That was so heartbreaking.
Those Dr. Freeze episodes were just so beautiful too, because
were.
they were really, they were heartbreaking.
They really were.
Yeah, they had passion in them and emotion. And watching this cartoon as a kid, you know, and feeling like I wanted to cry, that was a new experience.
Absolutely, you're right. It was quite dark. And barring the animated series, what would you say is your favourite interpretation of Batman?
Probably the Justice League animated series.
Nice.
I like Batman in the series because he's the voice of reason. You know, when everyone else is going off the rails, he's like, "You guys are idiots." You know, he's the voice of reason. And once again, Kevin Conroy.
Kevin Conroy voice.
But also, I like it because Batman is a man of so few words, and trying to see him communicate with all these other characters, and they've all got these fantastical abilities, of course, and he's just a guy, and just seeing him still kick ass and trying to talk to them all in that, it provides some wonderful comedy and some really interesting conflicts when they go and be the hero, and he's like,
Steady on there.
Guys,
you got to calm down and focus on it, and sometimes you have to be the bad guy, and that's what Batman is sometimes.
Yeah.
Bad guy, but with a good intention, you know, and so that's why I like him in that series.
Yeah, no, awesome. Okay. Obviously, we've got the new 52 and everything that's happening with that. I mean, are you excited for the future of Batman? Where do you see it going?
I'm just excited about Batman all the time, you know. I've only started reading the Detective in the new 52, the Batman Detectives, and I'm enjoying that, but I'm also enjoying him in the Justice League, because the opening of the Justice League in the new 52 is so exciting, and just all those huge panels of just things exploding. You know, it's a really exciting intro. So I'm hoping he does right in that too, especially because I'm such a fan of the Justice League.
Yeah.
But my favorite Batman comic though would have to be Black and White Volume 1.
Sure.
Because it's just when I got a hold of that, I wasn't a huge comic book guy, and seeing just so many different wonderful artists and seeing their interpretation of him, and the way they even drew him was so vastly different, and from the dramatic to the simple, and seeing all these really cool self-contained stories, so I didn't have to go and buy another 20 after that.
Sure.
It really inspired me to focus a bit more on Batman's origins in comics. And
how many of those black and whites do you have?
I've only got 2,
Yeah,
and I've just learnt there's a third one. I didn't know that.
Well, you know, it's interesting that you do say that, actually. As a thank you for coming on the show, we have gotten this for you. Black
thank
and white
you so
number
much.
3.
Number 3.
Oh, thank
We
you.
thought it'd be a nice little keepsake.
You don't know what I did to the first 2.
Tell us.
What did you do to the first 2?
I've got a lot of figurines,
Yeah.
a lot of Justice League figurines, and a lot of Batman figurines. Well, maybe at 10 Batman figurines. And I like the art so much. It's going to break your heart that I actually took a lot of the pages out of the Volume 1 and 2 and put them around my wall because I wanted to see them all the time. I didn't want to just have them happen. It's too late. I promise I won't cut this one.
I get it, but still, that's pretty...
Oh, that's painful.
I know. I just buy another one. It's all right. And put it on my
Okay.
shelf. But I just wanted to see them all the time and see them up there. Such beautiful artworks.
Yeah.
And
It
is.
especially, and I must say, there's about 100 of them smashing through a window, and they're my
Yes.
favorites.
Yes,
Classic
that's-
Batman
He does like
smashing through a
doing
window.
that.
Always a great frame.
Yeah.
Okay, well look, thank you so much for coming on the show. We love Good Game. We're definitely gonna keep watching.
Thank you.
Hope you keep watching our show.
Absolutely.
And yeah, look, thank you very
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the comic.
Yay.
I'm gonna read it.
I'm gonna grab one too.
Yeah, okay. In 1986, Alan Moore wrote a 2-part series called Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow. It started with the Superman comics and went straight through into Action Comics. It told the story of the apparent death of the last son of Krypton, and it actually heralded the end of Silver Age Superman. Now in 2009, Neil Gaiman wrote a 2-part story called Whatever Happened to the Caped Crusader. It started in Batman Comics and went through to Detective Comics, and it is one of my personal favourites.
Yes. You know, There are two different kinds of
No. You don't do that in this one. No.
Look, okay, I know, but frankly, you're kind of proving my point with this one.
What do you mean?
I mean, it's one of those high art, ask the big questions kind of comics.
Yes, but it is also a classic whodunit.
Yeah, but it's a metaphysical whodunit. I mean, by the end, you're asking yourself questions like, what, if anything, they done?
You gonna go with that?
Yeah, I'm going with that.
Standing by that?
I'm happy there.
Okay. It's not the story that gets me so much. I mean, it's Neil Gaiman. It's gonna be a good story.
That's a given.
Yeah, it's the artwork that kind of puts this close to my heart. I've said it before, and I will say it again, Andy Kubert is an absolute genius, and he's teamed up with some amazing artists in this. We've got Scott Williams on inks, and we've got Alex Sinclair on colours. It's a bit of a dream team.
Scott Williams, again, like we had with Hush. I love that guy.
And how could you not? With whatever happened, he borrows from a lot of different styles of Batman. I mean, we're going through, the 70-odd year career of the Dark Knight?
Yeah.
Each with their own specific Batman. I absolutely adore it.
Well, they did really pay homage to a lot of the big names.
Yeah.
You've got Dick Sprang, you've got Neil Adams, of course Bob Kane.
Bob Kane.
And I also really love the sketchbook section at the end that Kubert's put in. I mean, is that in the collected edition as well, or just the singles?
No, it is. You've got the little section at the back with the sketchbook, but you also get a couple of Neil Gaiman stories from Secret Origins and a Batman Black and White.
Nice.
Yes.
Bonus. But you know what? We should probably look a bit more at the story on this one.
Indeed.
We kind of skipped over that.
We did.
This one happens in Batman's wake.
Neil Gaiman likes a wake.
Doesn't he, though?
He does.
Yeah. And you've got various friends and enemies, good guys and bad guys, getting up and telling the story of how the Batman finally died.
Yeah. Now, you know which...
And every single story, though, completely different.
Yes, it is. And you know the one that really got to me was Alfred's story, The Gentleman's Gentleman.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful story about how Alfred actually creates all the big outlandish villains that Batman fights in an effort to keep Bruce sane.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
I spent pretty much the entire part one wondering what the hell was going on.
See, and that is where you went wrong, sir.
Oh, is that where? Okay.
With a book like this, you really just allow it to kind of wash over you and immerse yourself into this beautiful artwork. I mean, Neil Gaiman has never been one to give you an easy story.
No.
He likes you to do the hard work and kind of put it together piece by piece. Kind of like how Batman puts together a case.
I see what you did there.
I'm a clever girl.
You are. Now, it is a very satisfying jigsaw to slot together by the end of it. Really is. I've got to say, though, obviously this came out a little bit before Final Crisis, and it kind of hooks into the whole Batman death in that one. But I wish it had come later. I wish it had hooked into the changeover into the new 52.
Absolutely.
It would have fit so well.
It would have fit, but you know, hindsight is 20/20.
Sure.
This is a Batman story to quite literally put to bed a lot of other Batman stories.
I suppose you're right,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it also has won a lot of awards.
That's true. It won an SFX Sci-Fi Award. It won British Fantasy Award.
And it was nominated for a Hugo Award for Best Graphic Novel.
That's true.
Which is pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Now, this is an absolute beautiful piece of Batman fiction that any fan should have on their bookshelf.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Excellent.
You should have this book. Do you? Get it.
So, following on with our Batman theme, what have you got for us today, Ray?
Well, today I thought we'd start with these DC Direct Classic Silver Age figures. We have Batman here, actually comes as a 2-pack with Robin, so they definitely sport the classic look. They have a very mild articulation. They're a pretty decent sized figure and they actually have a good amount of detail. They actually remind me of the cartoon series that was on between the late 70s, early 80s called Super Friends. These guys have been around for a little while, but you can still pick them up at a decent price. Personally, I really like them, and I'm going to give them a buy straight off the bat.
Nice. I actually agree with you on this. I love the fact that Batman is in his kind of classic blue rather than the black that we've come to know.
Yes.
And they won't break the bank, so it is definitely a buy from me as well.
Yeah, and then we've got this guy here. Now, he was designed by Kiya Asamio. Now, this is by the production company Yamato. It was released as an exclusive to Japan only. However, DC Direct did get distribution. There's around 10,000 of these released. You can still find him, and he is still available for a very decent price.
Now, he's got a slightly longer cape than the other, so you can tell that he's a bit of a modern interpretation of Batman.
Yes.
The pose that he's got kind of crouching over those stairs. It's a bit scary. He's a bit menacing in this.
Yes, he is. I personally don't like the pose so much. Up close, there's a lot of detail. There's a lot of detail in the base. However, at a distance, I can't really work out what he's doing, whether he's avoiding his foe or attacking his foe, and it's just not quite clear enough as to what he's doing in this statue. So for me, I'm just going to have to make it a borrow instead of a buy.
Fair enough. He is kind of hidden by his cape there. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of the Bat. Now, this collection also comes with a Two-Face, a Joker, and a Catwoman.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think the Batman and the Catwoman are the only ones worth getting.
Oh, yes.
Having said that, though, sorry, Bats, but you're also a borrow for me.
Yeah, the Joker and the Two-Face, in my opinion, are terrible. But let's move on to our black and white statues.
Yes.
Now, these guys are quite special, quite unique.
Now, there we go. Now, in case you didn't know, in 1996, Mark Chiarello pitched an idea of a Batman black and white series that was going to showcase the top artists and writers. DC released these statues as a celebration of that anthology.
That's right, there's around 15 or 20 of these guys currently in circulation. Some of them are a little harder to find than others, and consequently they are a little bit more expensive. But we have 3 here to show you today. We have our comical sort of caricature piece here of Batman, which is dedicated to Sergio Aragonés, who gave us Mad Magazine.
Indeed. Next, we have a slightly more classic, sleek figure by Dustin Nguyen, who has a huge body of work with DC and Wildstorm since about 2000. A bit more classic Batman.
And our muscle powerhouse here, Batman, he is by Sam Keith, who most of you will know gave us is responsible for the great artistic vision on The Max. So what do you think about these guys, Sonia?
Look, some of them I really like, some of them I don't like so much. For me, this is a borrow because as a collection, I'm not such a big fan. I like the real classic ones rather than the kind of over-exaggerated.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. At first I was there with the borrow, but I think I've moved on from that. I started thinking of that these guys all on my shelf, these different variants of Batman, and I thought that as a collection they would be awesome. I'm a little sorry that I didn't start collecting them sooner. It's a buy from me because even individually there's a lot of detail and I think they look awesome, so yes.
Fair enough.
Now, for those of you with a keen eye, you may have noticed that this is a Frank Miller inspired statue. Now, for Frank Miller fans, this is probably a perfect example of his distinctive style. This is called the Batman Dark Knight Strikes Back statue. Now, thank God I don't have to say that 3 times very quickly. So he is all hand painted, and I would argue that this guy is flawlessly painted. It's made from cold cast porcelain, which is a slightly older way of making statues. These days they make them from polyresin, or if they want a little bit more detail, polystone resin. It features a stunning rendition of Batman, together with his sidekick, Catgirl, aka Carrie Kelly.
Yes. I really quite like this one. I love the over-exaggerated feet on Carrie here and on Batman. And there's a little bit of playfulness here. It's not quite as serious as a lot of the other Batman statues are. I would have preferred Carrie in her Robin outfit. I think that would have been a little bit better. Having said that though, I still really love this and it's a buy from me. I think it's really lovely.
It's for that reason that I can't give it a buy actually, because despite the detail in this statue, I just can't get past the figure of Carrie. I would prefer her in the Robin costume, even though Batman looks awesome, so it's gonna have to be a borrow from me too on this one.
Aw, that's a shame. Oh well, Bats. Well, thank you so much for that, Raid. This is amazing Batman collection that you've brought for us.
No worries.
Now we've come to the top 5 absolute you must have Batman titles that you must have.
You okay with that one?
Yeah, I'll stand by it.
Yeah, okay.
It's fine.
So obviously this is a big call, and not everybody's going to agree with us, especially not in the order. No. Frankly, I don't agree completely with the order that we ended up with, but you know what? Get onto the Facebook, let us know what your top 5 are. But
Absolutely.
Here is Kapow's top 5 Batman stories that you must have.
Indeed. Coming in at number 5, we have Batman Black and White, issue number 1. Now this is an anthology book and it showcases some of the top writers and artists in the field. As the name suggests, it is done in black and white and it gives a really beautiful feel to this book. One of my personal favourites is Ted McKeever's Perpetual Mourning, which is actually an Eisner Award nominee. Yeah. It tells the story of Batman trying to solve the murder of a young woman, but doing by legwork and forensics. Good old detective stuff like we're used to. It's a real moving story and it definitely deserves to be in our top 5.
Absolutely. Now, coming in at number 4, With a Bullet, is Alan Moore's The Killing Joke, which hinges on the concept that anyone's life can be completely changed by one bad day. Now obviously we know Batman's had this one bad day and the Joker reveals he has too. And he decides he's going to give the same thing to Jim Gordon. So he first of all shoots his daughter Barbara, paralyzing her. Then he kidnaps Gordon, strips him naked, leaves him in a funhouse, shows him all these images of his critically wounded daughter in various stages of undress, all to try and turn him completely insane. Now this is a great Batman story and it really focuses on the duality of the Batman and Joker dynamic. It also, and this is a slight niggle for me, but it also through flashbacks shows some backstory on where the Joker came from, his kind of origin story. I think he's stronger without one, but it does give you the proviso that he may be remembering things that never actually happened.
Yes.
Or in his own words, if I'm gonna have a past, I prefer it to be multiple choice.
Coming in at number 3 is Arkham Asylum, written by Grant Morrison with magnificent art by Dave McKean. This is possibly one of the creepiest Batmans I've ever read. Joker takes over Arkham Asylum and invites the Bat to come and play. You get a wonderful insight into the weird, twisted psyches of all the inmates. Plus, a little bonus, you also get the horrific backstory of Arkham Asylum itself and its founder, Amadeus Arkham. This book will make your skin crawl and the hair stand on end, but it is so worth it. It is magnificent and definitely a seminal Batman work.
No, absolutely. It's every page is a masterpiece.
It certainly is.
Now, coming in at number 2, and I've got to say right now, this is one I argued with. I think this one should be number 1, but it is what it is. So we came down on this to end with Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns. Now, this is a brilliant, brilliant comic. This shows us a dark, possible future where gangs run riot in the streets, everybody is corrupt. This is years after all the DC heroes have retired and disappeared. But, of course, as the title tells us, The Dark Knight Returns. Now, this is a Batman past his physical prime. This is a Batman who gets by on his experience and his cunning. This is a Batman who, frankly, is as scary as I have ever seen him. The artwork is also spectacular, with Miller, as usual, doing double duty on pencils. Look, my opinion, this is as close as you're likely to get to a perfect graphic novel.
Yes, but now we come to number 1. Drum roll, please! Now, you may have already guessed this, but of course, our number 1 is Frank Miller's Batman Year One. It gives us a fantastic, new, dark, gritty origin story of Batman set in a reality that we can understand and relate to. Not just the origin story of Batman do we get in this book, but also of Catwoman and Jim Gordon. That's a 3 for 1. That's a bargain. So if you call yourself a Batman fan and you don't have this on your bookshelf, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah, you know what? That's harsh, but it's fair.
It is fair.
I'd also like to throw out an honourable mention to the Night Saga.
Yep.
Now, this is the arc that covers Nightfall, Knight's Quest, and Knight's End, which is our first meeting with Bane, and it's an event that really shakes Gotham to its core.
It does.
Maybe not an essential read, but definitely worth a look. Because you know what? There are 2 different kinds of Batman stories.
That's all we have time for this week, guys.
Yes, it is, but we will be back again next week with another special, this time focusing on female writers and artists. I'll be talking with a local writer and talking about some of her work.
Yes, but before we go, it is Free Comic Book Day coming up on May the 5th on Saturday. It's a great time to go out, try something new, pick up something you maybe wouldn't have looked at before. maybe you could check out some of our old reviews. Maybe there's something in there for you.
But you know what? Even if you can't get along to a comic book store, we still have them covered.
We do?
Yes, we do. Thanks to our friends here at King's Comics, we have 30 free comics to give away. And it will be going to a lucky individual. You know what? We're not just giving them away this time. You've got to work for it. So you're going to have to write your own review and upload it to our Facebook site.
Yes, now there is no limitation on these reviews, guys. They can be as long or as short as you like, but they have to be interesting and they have to be creative.
Yeah, Sonia and I will be judging them.
We will.
So they better be good. And you have 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Count them, 2. That will bring you up to May 16th when you have to have them in by.
Well, that's us for this week. You guys get working and we'll see you next week.